Hey guys, welcome. Today we'll be working on this Kaggle problem. So this Kaggle problem has a highly imbalanced dataset. You can check the description here. Okay, we'll directly go to evaluation. AUC selected as evaluation metric. Then this is the format of submission file. Now let's check the data. So if you check the data fields here, you can see we have test and train files here, and you can see their distribution here, right? So we have like incident ID, date, variables from x1 to x15, and independence variable encoded to ensure confidentiality. So we have our target variable, multiple offense. Target variable 1 gives hack and 0 gives not a hack. So let's get started with the problem. So guys, here this is my Jupyter notebook. So before starting here, you can download all data from here, like go here and download, right? So I have already downloaded the data, and I think I have I have here. Yep, I have here. This is my Python notebook, and this is the test data, and this is the train data. Now let's start with our problem. So guys, here we'll be going through each and every step one by one. So first of all, let's import all required libraries. So guys, here I'm importing warnings, because if you don't do this warnings.filter warnings, you'll be getting warnings like this while working on this dataset or any dataset, but you will be getting warnings like this. So to if you don't want to get this kind of warnings, do this: import warnings, then set warnings.filter warnings to ignore. Then we are importing NumPy, pandas, then matplotlib for plotting, C1 also for plotting, and these two are for pre-processing. This is for trend and split, and this is the standard scaler. So this is for standardizing, and these are machine learning algorithms for classification, and these are for cross validation, and these are evaluation matrix for a classification problem. So let's read our train file. So guys, remember I have downloaded the train and test file, and I have my Python notebook here in the same folder. That's why I'm using directly their name. If you have your Python notebook at some other location, then you have to put the location directory here. Just go to here and copy the location, right? Copy the location and paste there. You'll get the location, and you can read the data from that particular location. Here I'm just using train.csv directly. So let's read the train file. Okay, sorry, I did not import any libraries here. First, import all required libraries. Okay, it's importing, it's taking some time. Okay guys, so okay, we have imported everything. Then okay, we have read out train file. So here you can see we have incident ID, date, and variables from x1 to x15, and this is our target variable. So here everything is of class 1. Let's see some class 0 example. So if you do that, we can see we have some class 0 examples here. Now let's read test file. Okay, same. We'll be using this test file to do our prediction and to submit in this Kaggle competition. So now let's start with EDA. Our train data has 19,084 rows and 18 columns. You can see here we have 15 columns here, then we have 3 columns here, so total 18. Then in test data we have 4,772 rows and 17 columns. So let's see some general info about train data. So in train data set we have this much rows, and we have like 2 string type of columns, then 1 float column, and rest are of type integer. So you can see here date column, it is showing like object, because these values in the date column are in the form of string. So we need to convert this string value to a date time object. We'll see how to do that. So before that, let's see some unique values that are present in each column. So if you do this, we have the unique values along with their distribution. So you can see these are the unique values and these are the distribution. In each column you can see this is the column name, and above the name of the column you can see the unique values with their distribution. So guys, you can use the unique command like this, but here you are getting only unique values. And here, if you are using value.counts, you are getting unique values with their distribution, with their counts. So you can see, guys, this is a categorical variable. This is also a categorical variable. X3, this might be a categorical variable. So guys, we don't have much information regarding X1 to X15 variables. That's why, seeing this distribution, you can see like this could be a categorical variable, but we are not sure. But here you can see for X1, we are sure this is a categorical variable because we have less unique values and we can see their counts. So generally, this is a categorical variable. So we have some observations. X1 to X15, these are origin nature of this variable is hidden. Then some variables are categorical in nature, and we have like this much data point available. So guys, here we missed this thing. Like if you see here in X12, we have some missing value. You can see the counts, right? Here we have 19,000, here we have 18,000. So we have some null values here in variable X12. So now let's do the same thing. Sorry. So now let's convert the data type from string to date time object of the date variable. We are converting for both train and test. So guys, our train data set contain data from 1st January 1991 to 31st December 2018. So let's see the general information for test data. You can see the same kind of distribution. Now you can see we have converted the date into datetime object. So we have a datetime object here, and this is general object. This is the string type, and we have a float here x12. Here also we can see we have some missing value here in x12. You can see the count difference. So let's do the value counts for test data. You can see the same kind of distribution here also. So here same observation, x1 to x15 are encoded, some variables are of categorical nature, and we have some missing value in x12. So guys, if you don't know about imbalanced data, go to this link. You will get to know everything about imbalanced data. So here we are checking the data imbalance in our train data. So we have 18,223 data points belong to class 1 and rest are belongs to class 0. You can see the difference here. Let's plot this difference to visualize in a better manner. So this is just a function for plotting. You'll see what it does. So just execute that and let's plot. So you can see the difference. We have 861 and we have 18,223 in this class. You can see the difference. So here we have only 4.5% data set belongs to class 0. So guys, this function is used here. So this function is used to show this value, this 861 and 18,223. We can see here our data set is highly imbalanced. So next step is to search for outliers in the train data and also in the test data. Let's do for the train data now. We are just assigning columns to a new variable column here. So guys, here we are just creating a list of columns and we are removing these 3 columns because this is just ID column and this is a date column and this is a target variable. To see outliers, we'll be using boxplot and we'll be using describe function. What boxplot does, you can see here, right? You can see the outliers. Yeah, you can see the outliers clearly. So guys, here we are plotting the box plot of each variable with respect to our target classes. Here this is for 0 class and this is for class 1. You can see the influence of x2 over class 0 and over class 1. You can see that distribution. So here you can see x1 has extreme outliers. Here we don't have any outliers. Okay, no outlier. Here we have some outlier in x6, then x7, x8 has extreme outliers. We have some outliers for x9. In x10, same, we have extreme outliers. x11 has some outliers and x12 has also some extreme outliers. So guys, to detect outliers with boxplot, please do use the describe function. So we have added some value of the percentiles. We want to see the distribution according to these percentiles. So here you can see, we had outliers in not x1. I think we don't have outliers in x1. Okay. Remember guys, x1 was a categorical variable. we have seen in the distribution here, x1, x1 is a categorical variable. That's why we are getting box plot like this. Here x8, you can see the values here, extreme outliers. Here see x8, this one is x8. Okay, you can see the difference. You can see the difference in x1, you can see the difference in x2, you can see the difference in x8. So x8, then x10 and x12 has extreme outliers. You can see the distribution here. So guys, here we have selected like 99.5% as a threshold value to remove outliers, because you can see, before this you can see there is no visible gap. So here you can see the gap is very large. That's how we have selected this value. Also, we have a less number of data points, so it's a win-win. Let's remove all values that are greater than 99.5 percentile. So we are removing outliers. Now you can see the distribution. You can see the distribution in x8. Okay, this is x8. You can see the distribution. You can compare the distribution from here to here. We have the extreme value, extreme difference. Here we have, you can see the difference between these two values. So we have removed outliers from trend data. So now let's check outliers in the test data. Okay, we have plotted different box plot. You can see x1 is just a categorical variable. You can see the distribution of other variables here. We have same x8, we have the same extreme outliers. Here also we have some outliers. x10 has extreme outliers, x12 has extreme outliers. So then let's do the describe function. Okay, you can see x8, you can see the similar distribution in x8, then x10 and x12. Similar distribution we have seen in case of trend data. But here guys, we cannot remove any outliers because we have to submit the data points, the rows should be equal in both submission and test file. That's why you cannot remove outliers in the test file, because we are using this test file to create our submission file. We can remove outliers in trend data because if we give good data to our model, then we can create a good model. So now let's do null value treatment. So first search for null values. So guys, here in train dataset we don't have any null values because we have removed some outliers, I think. Yeah, so the rows which are null value for x12 variable, those were removed while we are doing the outlier treatment. So now we have a train dataset which has no null values and which has no outliers. Now let's check the null values for test data. Okay, so in test data we have some null values in x12 variable. So here the null values percentage is like 0.73. So guys, we could do imputation like mean or median, but here we are choosing median because x12 has outliers. We saw here x12 has outliers. That's why we are using median instead of mean to input the missing value. So let's treat the null values. We have inputted the null values and now we don't have any null values in our test data. We are just assigning a new name here. Now let's check for skewness in the data. Guys, all machine learning algorithm, they assume that data should be in the form of normal distribution, like in the form of bell curve. If skewness present in the data, then it will be in the form like here. You can see either here, this is right skewed, right, and this is left skewed data. So if you use this kind of data set to create a model, it won't be giving good results. So before creating a model, we check our skewness. If skewness present, we do the skewness treatment so that we can convert this kind of distribution into a normal distribution. So here let's check the skewness. You can see, so guys, you can see we are getting this kind of distribution because we have seen like many variables are of categorical in nature while we are doing the value counts. So here we don't need to do any skewness treatment. Now let's see how to do some feature engineering here. So guys, remember we have only date, viable column date, because we don't have any information regarding these columns, and this is our variable column, and this is just an ID column. So if you want to extract some information, we could extract some information from date column. So here we are creating we are extracting date, and we are extracting month, and we are extracting year from the date column, and we are creating separate columns. So guys, remember, we have converted the data from the date column from string type to date time object. That's why we are able to extract date, month, and year separately from the date column. So we have created this function to extract each values. Now let's extract feature from the train and test data. Okay, sorry. Okay, yeah. First execute this section, then do this. Now you can see we have date, month, and year as extracted from the date column. You can compare 19:8, then 7 and 16. Now we don't need date column and incident ID in train data, because they do not add any new value to our progress. So here we are removing these two. We are using pop command because we need this incident ID to create a submission file. Now we are dropping date from test file. Okay, after this we have this kind of distribution. Now you can see the test data. So now split the train data into X and Y. Let's do that. So here we have this is our X, and this is the Y. So guys, remember, we'll use this file to create our submission file, our final submission file. But to train a model, we have to do a train and test split on train data. So here we are creating train and test file. We are splitting the train data set, and we are creating these 4 files. You can see. So guys, here you can see we are using Stratify Y. What it will do, it will preserve the ratio of both classes after splitting. Like after splitting, we have created this train and test data, right? So it will preserve the ratio of both classes, both class 1 and class 0 in the new data sets. You can see if you check the ratio here, you can see we have the same ratio. We have the same ratio in both test and train data we have just created from the train file. We are just doing a simple dimension check after splitting. So originally we have 18,757 rows in X. Then after splitting we have 15,005 rows in train and 3,752 in test. Now let's do standardization on train data. So guys, standardization doesn't affect the model performance. It helps the model in faster conversion. That means it helps the model to find out the coefficients very easily and very fastly. So here we are saving time and we are saving resources. We are standardizing now. You can see we have created the object here. Then we are fitting that object on the train data. So after the train data, right, we have this. After the standardization, we have this format of our train data. Now let's do the same thing on test data and also the actual test data, because we'll be using this one for our submission file, and this one to evaluate our model. So now let's do imbalance treatment plus model building. So guys, if you have seen my last video on imbalance dataset, so you know we have 2 methods to deal with imbalance dataset. One is undersampling and another is oversampling. So here we'll be using undersampling, then smooth and arranging, because smooth and arranging belongs to oversampling, but they do work better than random oversampler. So here we are using random undersampler for undersampling. So here we are creating a random sampler. We are setting the random state here. Then we are fitting the random sampler on X train and Y train. Then we are creating a data frame on the newly created data sample from the random sampler. Here we have just created. Okay, it's working now. So guys, here you can see we have our output from the random sampler. So we are creating a data frame separately, because if you don't do this, you will be getting output like this. You'll be getting a 2D array from the random sampler. It will just create a 2D array. So we have created the data frame separately after using the random sampler. Okay, let's do that again. Sorry. Yeah. Okay, let's do that again. So now we have our data set after undersampling. So guys, here you can see like X10 after random sampling we have like 1292 rows. In the original X10 we had like 15,005 rows. You can see the difference. So guys, check here the class distribution. Now we have same number of data points in both classes. If you add these two, you will get 1292. You can see, right? So now our original data has 646 belongs to class 0 and 14,359 belongs to class 1. Now after undersampling we have 646 and 646 in both classes. Let's create our first model using logistic regression. Guys, here I'm not creating a vanilla logistic regression. I'm directly using hyperparameter tuning, and then I'm creating a new model using the base parameters. Let's do the hyperparameter tuning here. So if you guys go to the documentation of logistic regression, you will be seeing like logistic regression documentation. So if you go to the documentation page, you can see penalty is L1 L2. So you can see here C is the inverse of regularization strength, must be positive float. Like in support vector machines, smaller values specify stronger regularization. So C value is used to control how much regularization you are putting on the model. So after the hyperparameter tuning, we have C value 0.5 and penalty L2. So we are using C value 0.5 and penalty L2. We have created a new model here. We are fitting the model on train data. Then we are doing the prediction here. Then we are calculating the scores. You can see here. Guys, I forgot to tell something here. Here in logistic regression, we are using class weight balanced. If you go to the documentation, you can see here class weight. So guys, if you check the documentation here, you will see like if you put balance as class weight, the algorithm will give priority to both classes equally. If you create a dictionary with some words, then according to that, the algorithm will give priority. So here we are giving priority to both classes equally. That's why we are using class weight equal to balanced. Another thing you can see, we are using stratified K4. If you are using stratified K4, it will preserve the ratio of both classes in each split during the cross validation. For cross validation, we are using grid search CB and AUC for scoring. So guys, you must be thinking why we are using AUC and why we don't have any accuracy score here. Why we are focusing on AUC and precision and recall. So guys, we have discussed in the video the problem with the imbalanced data. So in imbalanced data, if we are using accuracy, we will be getting a wrong model. Also here we cannot only depend on precision or recall value if you are thinking, because recall and precision value they depend on one value, one particular threshold. If you change the threshold, then precision and recall value will change. But AUC contains all threshold value. That's why AUC score will give a better result than precision and recall. Here also we should not be using only AUC. We'll be choosing AUC as a primary metric. So after AUC we'll be checking recall, precision and F1 score. Now after the undersampling and after using logistic regression, we are getting this much values. Let's plot the ROC curve. Now you can see this line refers to a random model. So here the higher the area, the better the performance of the model. Now let's create a random forest. We have we are using hyperparameter like maximum depth, minimum sample lift, minimum sample split, n estimator, maximum feature, and then we are using stratified K4. We are using randomized search CB specially because it takes less time than grid search CB. So let's do the hyperparameter tuning for random forest here. Select and base parameter. So guys, if you don't know about these parameters of the random forest, go to the documentation page of random forest. Then you can see here n estimator, number of trees in the forest, then max depth, the maximum depth of the tree. You can check the definition of each and every hyperparameter here. So it's still okay. After the hyperparameter tuning, we have n estimator 150. We are using 150. A minimum sample split, okay, it's 50. Let's change that to 50 now. 50. Then minimum sample lift 100. Okay, change that to 100. Now maximum feature 10, maximum depth 8. Okay, so now here we have created a random forest using best parameter. Let's do the prediction and scores. Okay, so after using random forest, we got a AUC score of 97, and here also AUC score of 97 on test data. We can compare the precision data also, precision and recall. Guys, here you can see we are getting a higher value of AUC score than whatever we have got in case of logistic regression. Here we have 0.92 and here we have 0.97. Let's plot the ROC curve. You can see the area here is larger than the area of this curve. So here our random forest is working better than logistic regression. Now let's do the same thing for XGB classifier. Okay, so we have our result here. Let's check the best parameters. So subsample is 0.75 and estimator is 100. Let's change that to 100. Then maximum depth is 8 and learning rate is 0.3. So let's do the prediction and scoring. So here you can see, guys, we have better score in case of XGBoost. Let's plot the ROC curve. You can see it's just here, just a little. You can see on the test data, right? So you can compare the ROC curve of XGBoost and random forest and logistic regression. Now let's compare scores of all three models after undersampling. So here you can see. So guys, here you can compare all scores: AUC, recall, precision, and F1 score. So XGBoost is performing better than other two algorithms. Now let's do oversampling. So here we are using RRSyn first, then we'll be using Smooth in the later part. So guys, please check the video. I have created everything. I have said everything: how RRSyn work, how Smooth work, how undersampling work. So please check that video. Then you can only understand. So now let's do oversampling using RRSyn here. Okay, do the after oversampling, after using RRSyn, we got this data frame. Now let's visualize the synthetic data point we have created using RRSyn. Let's do that. So guys, you can see here, this is the original actual zero class distribution. Then these orange dot points, these are synthetic data points we have created using RRSyn. This is the distribution between class 1 is the blue, and orange is the class 0. You can see. Now let's check the shape. We have train data. We have train data set, like we have 28,756 data points. Then in train data originally we had only 15,000 data points. Now let's do a class distribution check after RRSyn. So we have sufficient number of data points for class 0. We had this distribution before RRSyn and we have this distribution after RRSyn. Now let's create logistic regression on this oversample data. Let's do the hyperparameter tuning. Now we have C equal to 0.5 and penalty equal to L2. Let's do the prediction and let's plot the ROC curve. So here we have AUC score for train data and AUC score for test data. You can see the precision, recall, and F1 score here also. Now let's do the same thing for random forest. Let's do hyperparameter tuning, then find best parameters. Okay guys, we have our best parameters now. So n estimator, it is selected as 150. Let's change that to 150. Then sample split 50. Okay, 50. Now this is also 50. Maximum feature 10 and maximum depth 10. Now after okay, now let's do the prediction and scoring. Let's do that and plot the ROC score. We have AUC score of 0.99 and on train data we have similar score like on train data and test data. you can see the precision, recall and F1 score also. Okay, we have a better ROC curve now. So this is random forest. Now let's do the same thing for XGBoost. Okay, fit, then search for best parameters. It will take some time also. So okay, it's done. We have our base parameters now. Subsample equal to 0.75. Let's change that to 0.75. Sorry, yeah, 75. N estimator 150. Then max depth to 4. Let's change that to 4. Learning rate is 0.75. Now after, okay, let's do the prediction and scoring and let's plot the ROC curve. Okay, it's working. So after prediction, we have AUC score on train data equal to 1.0 and test data we have 0.999. We have 111 for precision, recall and F1 score. You can see the score here. We are getting like 0.99 something earlier, but here we are directly getting 1. That is the highest score possible, right? We are getting that value after using AdaSyn. So now you can see we are just getting this line here for the ROC curve. We are getting the entire area in case of XGB classifier. Now let's compare all scores for all models. After AdaSyn, we had like AOC score equal to 0.92 for logistic regression. Then we have 0.99 for random forest. You can see the AOC recall and precision and F1 score for each and every algorithm. Here also you can see XGBoost is working very good in compared to other algorithms. You can see here, guys. Now let's do another oversampling technique that is called SMODE. Let's do the resampling using SMODE. Then let's check the data. SMODE also gives a 2D array after resampling. Now let's visualize those synthetic points. Here, as you can see, these are our original data points for class 0, and this is the orange points are our synthetic data points after SMODE, and this is the distribution of original class 0 and class 1. Now let's create a data frame. Similarly, we have done in case of AdaSyn. So guys, you can see here we had originally 15,005 data points in XTrain. Now we have 28,718 data points. Let's check the class distribution now. So guys, you can see here we have equal number of data points in the train data after SMODE, and this was the original distribution. Originally we have this kind of distribution. Now we have equal data points in both classes. Now let's create our logistic regression after SMODE. So logistic regression, we are doing the hyperparameter tuning now. After this, okay, it's taking some time. After this, we have C equal to 0.5 and penalty equal to L2. So let's do the prediction and scoring now. We have 0.93. Okay, it's doing good, not that good, but it's doing good. Now let's plot the ROC curve. So we are getting a decent curve. We are getting area of 0.92 here. Now let's do the same thing for random forest. Random forest, find the best parameter. So it will take some time. We have like N estimator equal to 150. Let's change that to 150. Then minimum sample speed equal to 50. Okay, change that to 50. Sample length equal to 50. Depth equal to 10. And feature equal to 10. Okay, so let's do the scoring and prediction now, and let's plot the ROC curve. Okay, it's loading. So guys, here we have like AOC score equal to 0.99 for train and 0.997 for test. So it's pretty much good, right? We have pretty much good score for precision, recall and F1 also. We are also getting a very good ROC curve now. If you compare this curve with the logistic regression. Now let's do the same thing using XGB classifier. Do the hyperparameter tuning now, then find the base parameters. Okay, so here we have our scores. Now we have AUC equal to 1.0 for train and AUC equal to 0.9, and this is basically 1 for test also. We are also getting 111 for precision, recall and F1 score. Now let's plot the ROC curve. Here, if you plot the ROC curve, you can see this is a very good ROC curve. Now let's compare the scores after SMORE. So here, if you see here, logistic regression we are getting 0.92, random forest we are getting 0.997. You can see we are having better score with XGBoost after SMORE. Now let's compare the scores with undersampling and AdaBoost. This is for undersampling, and this is the AdaBoost. So guys, in every cases we have XGBoost performing better than other two models. Hence, we are comparing now the XGBoost among undersampling, AdaBoost and SMORE. So if you compare the AUC score, then we have this one with SMORE, and this one with undersampling, and this one with AdaSyn. Clearly, we have a better score with AdaSyn here. Similarly, we have a better score with AdaSyn for recall. If you compare these three, then we have a better score with AdaSyn for precision also. So overall, if you see, we have a good score for XGBoost with AdaSyn. I think we have named the XGBoost here also XGB, and here also in case of AdaSyn, I think we have named the XGBoost as XGBoost. So please change the name to XGBoost ADA. Here we are changing the name because so that we can identify the model and we can save the model for future use. Okay, just a second. Yeah, we are getting the same result, right? So if you check the result here also again, yeah, we are getting the same result. Now let's use the model to predict on the test data. Guys, remember this data set we had earlier, like this one. We need to predict on this data set to submit on the Kaggle. So here the model name is XGB ADA, right? So okay, we'll be using that model. So here XGB underscore ADA. Now then, after predicting, we are creating a data frame of the result, and let's do that. Okay, we are doing the prediction, same thing. So guys, this is our result now. Now let's check important features from the model. Let's do feature importance now. Okay, we have an array here. Now let's visualize this information. Let's do the visualization now. So here, okay, it's taking, yeah. So here we have all our variables with their importance. So here x10 has highest importance, then x15, then x11, and so on. You can see here. Now let's create our submission file. Like here we are saving our result file to a submission file so that we can upload that file directly to our Kaggle competition. So here, okay, let's create our submission file now. So after that, we have created a submission file named sub15x. So guys, here if you see here, this is our submission file. Now let's submit that file on the Kaggle competition. Okay, then submit prediction now. Submit now. Here go to the file location now. Okay, Kaggle, then my uploads, go to, okay, this is our submission file. Now open that. So it will be submitted now. Okay, it is submitted now. I think, yeah. Okay, it is submitted now. Okay, so let's write some description. Okay, we have done we have checked for imbalance, data imbalance, then okay, sorry, yeah, imbalance. Then we have created a model using SMORE plus XGBoost. Make submission now. So we are scoring. Okay, we have a score now 0.98836. So guys, work on this data set on your own, then do submit your prediction on this Kaggle competition. So guys, here after submission, we are saving our model using Pickle. We are opening a file named scb.pickle, then we are dumping our model on that file. You can see the file here. This is our model. Now if you want to if you want to load the model directly from here and do the prediction, you can do like this: pickle.load. It will open the model and load the model, then you can do the prediction. After this, okay, sorry, something happened. An output, okay, incident ID, predict test data. Okay, do that again, I think. Yeah, so we are getting the same output. You can see for CR73622, CR73622 we are getting the same output by using the same model. So now we have our model and we have our prediction file. So guys, please work on this Kaggle competition on your own. I'll be giving links for documentation and links for my last video regarding imbalance dataset in the description. Please check them out. So it will be helpful. If you like this video, give it a thumbs up and please subscribe my channel. In the next video, we'll be working on deployment of machine learning models. Till then, take care.